at lunch.
And left the stuff in his truck.
These are stuff that are in the driveway.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the cars are running, and then here.
RSC?
And stuff. That's all.
I think you can start it.
Okay.
Keys in condition right now.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors meeting for September 15th to order. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just like to announce, I apologize, we got started a little bit late. We were having some technical difficulties with getting connected internet-wise. Also, as I always do, just remind everyone to please double check your phones and any electronic devices that they're on vibrate or they're off. Also, I'd also like to say, again, please double check that you, if you're visiting, that you did sign in outside, because that does help Lisa, helps us with the meeting minutes when she pulls those meeting minutes together. This meeting was duly advertised in the Lancaster newspaper on December 1st of 2021. And at this time, I would like to formally turn the meeting over to our Township Solicitor, Mr. Cream, for a hearing to consider the adoption of Ordinance 2023-03.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a legislative hearing. It's the Board of Supervisors exercising their legislative powers to consider whether they will adopt amendments to the Stormwater Management and Earth Disturbance Ordinance. The hearing has been advertised in a newspaper general circulation, and typically what we do is we'll start with a brief presentation by Ms. Young, just explaining what and why, and then the board will receive testimony. Because it's a hearing, it's called testimony, but it's actually in the form of public comment. Appropriate public comment would be in the nature of commenting on what you think the board should do in considering whether to adopt or not adopt this ordinance. So Sharon, if you'd like to take it from there.
Yeah, EADEP requires the township or municipalities in Pennsylvania to update their stormwater management and earth disturbance ordinance periodically. This year, this round, it's we need to get the ordinance actually into DEP by September 30th, so kind of in a time crunch here. This ordinance actually completely replaces the existing ordinance. DEP gives us model language to use. It includes some provisions that are mandatory we must include, and there are suggested provisions. So we basically take our existing ordinance and input the requirements that DEP has imposed. And a lot of them are basically technical design requirements for various stormwater facilities. We also took the opportunity to go through the ordinance and fine-tune it in terms of terminology that may not be totally clear. We also have some provisions that are specific to East Cocalico, significantly based upon Lancaster County model stormwater ordinance that the county put out several years ago. So we tweaked that to try to remove some ambiguities that were in the ordinance that have caused some difficulty when we're trying to implement the ordinance. Those primarily relate to processing of small stormwater projects. There's a threshold in the township for when you have to actually do a full-blown stormwater management project that goes to the Board of Supervisors for approval, it gets recorded at the county recorder of deeds office. So obviously, we don't want everyone to have to do that when they're doing a small project. There's a threshold where they're exempted from doing any formal stormwater plan, which is 1,000 feet, and then once they hit a 2,500 square foot threshold, they have to do a formal plan, but in between they can do what's called a small project, which the township provides guidance on, and technically they don't even need to have a professional engineer or surveyor do it. They really can actually do it themselves. So there are some difficulties in administering that part of the ordinance. So we did spend quite a bit of time trying to clarify that, so all the different scenarios we run into, we have a consistent approach to administering that part of the ordinance. Casey or Ken, do you have anything you want to add?
No, it's, in a lot of ways, it's not very different than our current ordinance, but there are a number of provisions to make it consistent with what the state wants that we're changing. Is really the main difference.
Casey clarified, the number's actually 2,000 for the threshold, at which point you get onto a formal stormwater management plan.
Yeah, like Chairman said, the purpose of this is from the state level. Anybody with an MS4 permit and their own ordinance had to update to the current standards. And since East Cocalico has an MS4 permit, has their own stormwater management ordinance, this is simply, it's not a rewrite, it's an update to the existing one that gets implemented with really minor changes just to adhere to the state's requirements, and more specifically the MS4 program that the state is continually implementing.
Thank you. I should clarify. When I say that the language of the existing ordinance was completely replaced with the new one, that is largely in part to things like formatting and the difficulty of trying to individually insert every new provision into it and calling that out in the amending ordinance. It's much easier to basically wipe out the existing one and put the new one in place in terms of how we adopt the ordinance. But it is substantially the same with relatively few modifications.
So, now, to be clear in everyone's understanding, this is in that category of a mandate from the Commonwealth,
Yes.
that each municipality has to adopt and administer stormwater management provisions at the municipal level.
Yes.
But the standards, as Casey has described them, come from the Commonwealth with some discretion to the municipalities on how to process those standards, but come from the Commonwealth, and the municipality is required to implement them.
Yes.
Board, do you have any questions for any of your professionals? Let's start with that.
I do have one question, also for the public's understanding. So from a timeline perspective, this brings us up to the standard that the state wants, right? How often are they changing that standard, or how long do you think this ordinance will remain in effect?
It's a 5-year period,
It's
isn't
a
it?
fact, right?
Yeah, it's not clear whether in 5 years there'll be a new one or whether something will come along sooner than that, but the permit cycle runs 5 years.
Okay.
And so I don't really understand the logic behind DEP's timing other than they wanted it by 2022.
And Ken, when you say the permit cycle, that's the MS4 permit cycle?
Yes, the township's MS4 permit through the state.
Thank you.
Logically, you would think that since that permit cycle, that the new permit cycle, they have updated requirements for the township, that would be the timing of having the new ordinance in place. But as Ken said, it's slightly random, and we're in the middle of a permit cycle now. So,
Just for reference, the last time that provisions like this were made were 2014. So the last time was 8 years is when they required another update. Again, I'm not sure what their time frame is on next updates, but the last this period would have been 8 years, from 2014 to 2022.
And for a long time, the township has had stormwater management
Yes.
processes and standards. The most recent big change to that is a standalone ordinance with state mandated criteria. And this is the next iteration of that, as Sharon describes it. It's reenacting the entire ordinance, but that's just to make it easier to embed amendments throughout.
Thank you.
Members of the board, Judge?
I was gonna ask the same questions. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Then we'll open it up to public comment. Is there any public comment? So, hearing no public comment, members of the board, we advertise this as we typically do, in such a way that you are not required by the public notice to act at this meeting, but as Sharon pointed out, we are up against a deadline to comply with the Commonwealth. So, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2022-03, the stormwater management and earth disturbance ordinance of 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, and the motion carries.
So, members of the board, with that action, you may adjourn the hearing and return to your regularly scheduled meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Okay, announcement of executive sessions held. There were no executive sessions held since our last meeting. And gentlemen, we have the past meeting minutes for approval. Is there any corrections or anything there? I did not have it.
I see everything pretty much as it is.
You okay with you?
A minor misspelling here or there. Carrie Haas, I apologize for your name being misspelled.
I'll make a motion to approve the Thursday, September 1st, 2022 Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
And I will second that. So we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries. Okay, action items, land planning and engineering.
All right, first up for me, Wabash Landing Phase 3. The Phase 3 will be the final phase of that development, kind of in between the Stevens Fire Company and Four Seasons. Phase 1 is just about built out. Phase 2 they are working on right now. I'm sure if you've driven by there, it's starting to look like something with the roadways starting to go in. And Phase 3, they are aggressively working on the plan, trying to get that approved so that they can just keep rolling with construction. So that being said, this is a pretty standard. Their time extent, their date of action is up, and the applicant consultant submitted a 90-day time extension to continue to work through some of our prior comments on the plan to give something that's satisfactory to us in the township. So the motion before you today for the Wabash Landing Phase 3 plan would be to accept the written time extension offer as submitted by the applicant's consultant dated September 9th, 2022, which will extend the deadline for action on the Phase 3 final plan for Wabash Landing until December 23rd, 2022.
Okay, did you expect anyone here representing the plan? Okay.
Quick question on that. I know it's been brought up at multiple meetings now about, did we reach out to them at all about repairing that road? The fire chief of Stevens was complaining, and a couple residents as well.
Talking about Wabash Road where the park entrance
No,
comes
I
out?
think it's
Stevens
Stevens Road.
Stevens, where the cut is.
There's a few cuts on the road there where the new entry to the development is.
So Stevens Road is a state road. I'm not sure, I have to go back exactly and see what PennDOT requirements are for a million overlay. I would assume that there are requirements for, it's probably I haven't been out there for a while, but I would assume what they have right now is probably temporary, that they'll probably come back into the mill and overlay some sections. But that would be part of the PennDOT HOP plans. We, being the township, would not have involved in that, in the state road plans and requirements.
PennDOT would do all of the inspections and final acceptance.
Right.
Okay, there's a question in the back. Yes.
Stevens Road is not a state road, that's already been verified, and those cuts are supposed to be repaired immediately upon.
Stevens Road is absolutely a state road.
It is not a PennDOT road right there, and our chief already checked into that. It is not PennDOT's requirement to come fix that road since the contractors are the ones that tore it up.
No, it's not PennDOT's requirement. PennDOT doesn't have to come out and do it. But they're the ones that oversee the road. The township has no authority to make the builder come out and do anything to that road because it's a state, you say owned, it's a state road.
Control.
Right.
A state right of way.
So who is responsible for fixing the road?
The contractor.
So similarly to the township, in a parallel process, when land development is done, the township reviews and issues permits for its jurisdiction, and PennDOT does the same. And PennDOT has the same authority that the township has. PennDOT can compel the contractor developer to make the repairs, or PennDOT can make the repairs and assess a claim against whatever escrow the developer was required to post. But typically, in this sort of situation, it's a timing issue, and it must be completed before their final occupancy from PennDOT. And do we have any idea of what that timeline is?
Now, I'd have to look into exactly what the phase 2 HOP plan and HOP permit says on timeframes. HOP permits had an expiration date too, but just out of construction terminology, so far they haven't done any wearing course paving, 9.5 millimeter super pave, and typically when they do that, they try and do it in one shot, so they have trucks coming in with the same material. So they haven't done that yet, so I'm not sure how long, say, the temporary state road conditions will stay in place, but they do have an expiration date on their HOP permit.
HOP meaning highway occupancy permit, so there's a time limitation on how long they're allowed to be in the right of way and working. We'll find that out.
What we can do, I mean, typically the developer obviously doesn't like to, they won't want to come in and do the road because there's still equipment going back and forth.
Well,
There's still
damage
going to
it
be
again.
damage. But we could reach out to the local PennDOT maintenance supervisor and see if we can have him, well, he's very responsive, he can kind of take a look at it, and they may, we may be able to get him to get the
Put it in a-
developer to
put
do
it in a
something at least
passable
temporary, right,
condition, yeah.
right.
With the developer hiring a contractor to put those lines in through the road, and the contractor not putting the blacktop back close to where it was, aren't they responsible to go out there and try and amend the problem
If
at
there's
this
a
point?
dangerous condition, we can have them do it in the meantime.
When people are driving there, if you hit it fast, you could damage your car.
Yeah.
Do you know what's the utility? Is it UGI or is it something else?
There's about five of them going straight across the road. No matter how fast you're going or how slow, there's no way to avoid it unless you're driving in like the middle of the road almost.
Yeah, we can ask, we can't insist.
I'll talk to the PennDOT maintenance guy, again, he's very responsive, and see what he can get done, because I'm sure they don't want their, dangerous condition of their road.
The developer has no obligation to
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with the contractor this time.
Right, but not, no obligation to us. That's why we can ask, but we can't insist.
Sorry I brought that up now, it's just at the top of my head, I heard Wabash, so I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I'll see if I can reach out to them this afternoon.
It's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't require, but we can politely ask
Yeah.
and press.
Okay.
What if it's a dangerous situation already though?
It's PennDOT's responsibility.
To send someone out to say that?
Yeah, we're not allowed. It's not only that we don't, it's not that we don't want to, we're not allowed to.
Well, that's part of what Sharon will talk with them about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is they'll go out and assess that.
They didn't put any blacktop down, they just put stone down, and with the amount of traffic that runs over them every day, it's so compacted in and pushed down again that,
But that'll be part of their assessment when she calls them and as a courtesy and asks.
Yeah, Guy is my forester, and he's very responsive considering it's PennDOT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All things considered.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept the written time extension offer as submitted by the applicant's consultant dated September 9th, 2022, which will extend the deadline for the action on Phase 3 final plan for Wabash Landing until December 23rd, 2022.
And I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
So with that being said, I'm a resident behind the construction site there at the Wabash Mobile Home Park. We're going through multiple, I guess, blasting and just different construction noises from 6:30 a.m. till whenever they're done at night. This has been a hindrance, obviously as local residents for the last 2 years. But the blasting, the concern is part of what the park is that creating any damage following through. There was a resident last year, she had piping damage done to it, her home, that had to be repaired, but she didn't know that she needed to follow up with it in a certain time period. My concern with that is going into Phase 3, what's their plans for that and what's the timeline to make sure that, I guess, there's no more damage being done. Just speaking out loud here, the dirt piles there, we see them grow almost every day, and there's no necessarily plan for them as far as moving forward. You don't see the progress with it. From my understanding, they did an assessment on Stevens Road to the housing there to make sure that the houses could take the blasting. As far as our foundations go, our home's still on blocks. If they're blasting back there daily, what's that doing to the center blocks underneath our home? As far as vibration, I can sit in my bedroom and I work night shift. It wakes me up at times because it literally rattles through my whole house. So I'm just being concerned for the local residents there of what's their plans that they're going to have a timeline and also make sure that there's not damage being done in that part.
The way I would answer that is in the permitting process, when they went ahead and did that, that was accounted for in the permitting process, right? In terms of development.
Every blasting contractor has to be licensed through the state. Every time someone goes out and blasts, they have to have a certified blasting plan.
That's with the state, if the state regulates that.
So the town doesn't regulate the blasting requirements, the state does, but they do put through a report on, what's around, they can't blast over certain requirements. But again, that's a state thing, but they do have to go through a procedure to one, be a blaster, and then two, to have actually blast on the site.
And part of that is carrying liability insurance. So if there is actual damage, a claim can be made against the insurance of the contractors and the developers.
So they would have to go to the developer first or to their insurance direct?
Well, that depends, yeah. Typically, The claim would be to the property owner's insurance, and then that insurance company would direct how that proceeds from there.
Right, so if it's a local, so the park owns the land, the residents own the homes. So if it's damage to a home, do they contact their own homeowner's insurance? And then they follow up, or?
Right.
And then the park would be responsible for their property. All right, I just want clarification on that.
Yeah, the best way I would answer that is as follows. On a personal level, what I would do is I would document the damage. I would contact my personal insurance carrier for my home and submit a notice of a claim to them with the documentation of what happened. And where I personally believed the damage or the catalyst, where the cause of the problem was.
I mean, the only reason I'm bringing up concern now is they're starting to work behind the fence line that they created, which is basically neighboring the homes there. And so as they get closer to the homes, there's the possibility for that damages to arise. So I just wanted to be here this morning to see what can be done if that does happen.
The blasting companies usually do offer property owners within a certain radius the opportunity for them to come in and photo document the existing condition before they blast.
Yeah, before condition.
And then, you know, so that if there is damage, that then there's basically a before and after. So, I mean, property owners aren't obliged to let them in, but they do, that is their practice, that is a requirement.
My experience in the city, for example, is that the city will require those kinds of inspections, and, you know, properties have cracks that are just developed over the years, so they document the crack. They even have measuring devices that they can attach to the wall to determine whether that crack is widening through the activity. So it is an option to, if you are concerned, it's an option to prevent something from happening or something from getting worse.
But it sounds like they didn't reach out to you?
As far as I know, I know the park went through the other year now. There could be the argument that the drive in there was old to begin with, but they just recently tarred their road due to cracking. I do know that resident that had the water issue did not know about contacting somebody, and she just had it repaired. And I guess the belief at this point is there was too long of a period in between that she could prove whether if it was done from the blasting or a normal circumstance.
Maybe that they contacted the park owner, if anything pertaining to the site itself would be, you know, would be the park owner's responsibility. So I don't know how they would have handled that. That's a process that
Well, I mean, that's
is
something I
invisible
think,
to us,
I was
basically.
gonna say, that's something that can be brought up to them and see what their response is also. But like I said, I mean, from their construction, when they started, they put a fence line up. And from that fence line to, say, my home is probably here to the front of the building, so maybe 100 yards, 200 at best. So like I said, I'm just being concerned that, and I'm a farther resident than others. So I'm just being concerned for the general neighbors that don't know to speak up per se.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, your name?
Jamie Wenzel.
Thank you. No, it just helps with the meeting minutes. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, and that motion carries.
All right, then the next item is really for discussion today, this morning. I'll speak with Ken and Ken. Ken and gentleman from our office, Josh Kennedy, have been handling the CDBG stormwater lining project in Newtown. In 2021, the township was granted some CDBG money, $200,000, and then plus some township match funds to do a stormwater lining project that Ken has submitted an application for. There was quite a bit of process, so I don't know exactly how the funds currently line up with soft costs, with the pipe video that had been done in the spring, which proved to be, proved to have some issues with the pipe systems and cables and electric utilities or gas utilities that got cross-bored through the storm pipes. Under the township road crew, I've been out there and have replaced some pipes and some structures, so that was a cost that had been deducted from, I'm not sure, can I answer that one, but I think the township's match funds. So we did put the project out to bid, and we had structured the project to have a base bid, which was the entire Cardinal Drive, and then 3 alternatives to try and to split it up so that we could best use the CDBG money. Based on the time that we had initially gotten costs from different contractors that we work with, primarily for sanitary sewer lining projects, and now, no surprise here to most of us, the costs had increased substantially. Obviously, labor shortage, material shortage, and as of right now, the only applicable bidder for the base unit cost came in at $307,000. So, if I remember correctly, the initial application had about $244,000 again. I'm not sure what costs got deducted from that for soft costs for the televising of the lines that we had used to put this bid package together. But as of right now, in situ form, came in at $307,000 for the base bid, and Precision, which actually was the lowest bidder, but had not met the bid instructions, which I'm not sure if Matt, if you had gotten the template to send. We had sent that to township. There's a base form that basically, if somebody doesn't meet the actual bid requirements, we send the township base form that I think should promptly be sent to that low bidder to inform them that they had a flaw in their submittal practice.
I'm sorry, is it the only bidder?
There were 2 bidders.
There are 2 bidders.
So 2 bidders. The one bidder came in $10,000 lower than the other one for the base bid. And we had a draft letter that got sent to the township to send to them.
And the deficiency is technical, but non-material.
Deficiency is not executing attachment B from section 3 of the action plan.
So a signature is missing.
Including certain specifications.
Okay. But not a deficiency as to the technical requirements of the project.
Correct.
Okay.
So basically what I wanted to get a discussion started on is, there's no decision that has to be made today, no motion has to be done today, but I wanted to give you information to at least sit on and think about. I think we have 60 days to respond to these bids, so there is time, but we kind of have to check with the redevelopment authority on timeframes of how long they may extend those CDBG funds to the township. I'm sure the redevelopment, this is not new for the redevelopment authority on time extensions for money, and I'm sure that everybody in the state of Pennsylvania is going through this inflation period right now on projects and costs. Just for reference, in the total bids for the overall projects that include the base and the 3 alternatives, there are $70,000 in mobilization and traffic control for the development. So I'm not sure exactly how the pricing got worked out, but again, I think because of some time constraints that initially have been trying to hit, that may have decreased our amount of bidders that bid on the project, just knowing how busy everybody is, not thinking they can get the project. So I'm not sure if certain costs may have gotten inflated more. So we're looking at what our options are right now. We could split Cardinal Drive down to half and put in more alternatives, rebid it. I'm not sure if the township's in a position that they could pay the additional costs from the 244 to the 307 plus whatever has been spent so far. I'm not sure what the financial status is on those budgetary items. But I wanted to see initially what our thoughts were on performing that, and Ken, please jump in as needed.
Yes, I had talked with Judy, and do you want to say something on that? There is money potentially available in the ARPA funds, so they're not coming out of our tax dollars.
So where this project stands is, to date, we paid $36,847 out of ARPA. We had $45,000 budgeted, which leaves a little over $8,000 in the budget. In the general fund, there is money available. I believe that was matching funds, and we paid $5,099, and we did a budget adjustment. We adjusted that down because we knew that grant money wasn't coming into the township. Adjusted it down $150,000, so what's available after that adjustment is $36,847.25, which leaves us $44,900 available budget for the project. So looking at the $307,000, that is the total cost of the project, correct? Is that correct, Casey? It was originally $244,900 and it went up to $307,000?
So no, the initial application was a $244,000, I wouldn't say estimated total, but that was what the CDBG funds were willing to give towards the project, and then what the township percentage match broke down, plus I think some televised and rough costs that were in there. So that $244,000 really is a pretty rough cost when your application goes in. Now, we split this up to a base and 3 alternatives. So for the bidder that met the requirements, $307,000 for the base bid, $49,000 for alternative 1, $40,000 for alternative 2, and $83,000 for alternative 3, for a total cost of the entire project. Again, we split this up knowing that it was most likely going to go over, so we could try and pick and choose. Total project would be $479,000. So I think with talking with Ken and initially saying what is our priority, I think Cardinal was the priority in those discussions with he and Mike Hessian, so that's why we split it up that way. But the base is still at $307,371.
Okay, so if we start at the base of $307,000 and we take off the $44,900 that we have available in budget, it would be $262,100. $200,000 of that would be the CDBG money. So the lowest possible additional money we would have to find is the $62,100. Now, if we don't at least find that, then we can't use the CDBG money. That's the only thing that money can be used for, that $200,000. So going back, Ken stated, we talked about ARPA. I want to make you aware, at this point, we have $610,000 of that ARPA money budgeted. We did get our second tranche in last week, so we do have the full $1,117,000 collected in cash.
Which completes.
Which completes
total
what we're gonna get,
ARPA.
that's all we're gonna get, yes,
Correct.
yes. Even though we have until 2024 to spend it, we won't be getting any more money, no matter, what we put to this. So with that $610,000 we spent $10,000 last year, that's $620,000 spent. So you can see, we have, a little less than $600,000 that we still need to allocate. Now, that's also if we, spend everything that we have budgeted. So we have the $175,000 budgeted for the salt shed, which we haven't acted upon. We have $80,000 budgeted for records management, which is a project we're still deciding which way we want to go with that. Where else haven't we spent money? $37,000, well, the member contribution is going to get made. So you can see, we may be able to change some things around and not do some things that we already had budgeted.
In addition to that, there's also the second application put into the county
Yes.
for replacing the culvert in Hill Road here and the small bridge out on White Oak.
That is not in the budget yet.
And that was a 50-50 match. Half of that would come from the township's ARPA funds, and half of that would come from the county additional ARPA funds that we applied for.
And we have not heard anything on the status of that application.
Casey, the CBDG grant, there was a time limit on it until,
I think,
do you remember?
I think it got extended, Ken, I'm not 100% sure.
I will have to check. Yes, there is a hard deadline by which the funds have to be spent. But I do not recall offhand at the moment what that was. I will check on that for you.
Okay, so,
I think the township could ask for an extension, and I think so far with that process, Ken, you would agree they've been relatively easy to work with the redevelopment authority?
Yeah, to some extent. It's federal money, so there are a lot of strings come attached to it with how you do all that stuff because of that.
okay, can we start with the following for the next meeting? Let's get the dates. In my thought process, let's get the dates on the expiration of that grant, number one. Number two is if we, Casey, formalize an extension on that grant, what's the max we can do on the extension? Okay? The reason that I'm asking that is in my train of thought for the board, in my opinion, my train of thought, that might buy us the time that we're coming up to budget season very, very quickly here. And depending on where those timescales fall into place with the budget, that we have to now look at the budget for next year, we may be able to allocate and fit in where this all would fall into place and do the work on Carter Drive.
Right, so right now, there's really three decent options. One would be to go with what's been done so far, and the township would have to find the additional funds. Another one would be to rebid the project with a revised scope and kind of shorten Cardinal Drive down to keep it closer to the exact monies that are still currently available. And the third would be to rebid the entire project with an extended period of completion, assuming there would be an extension of timing for the grant money.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I don't see shortening Cardinal Drive as being an option personally. Because here's why. We know the rest of that work has to get done anyway.
At some point,
It's got to get done at some point anyway. There are ARPA funds available, limited, it's there, right? So I would not want to see the scope of that reduced. 'Cause in essence, we're just kicking the can down the road. We know it's got to get done.
And I do think that once projects like this come into fruition, they're done, we have nice pictures of before and after, and the redevelopment authority is able to see how their funds were spent. I think that does give municipalities some momentum with future proposals, especially for the same thing in the same development, knowing that it was completed around the same time frame. So I think that once some of these projects go in, they're completed, I think that does give municipalities some momentum on future submissions and proposals. So I think those are the three options right now. Again, I'm not looking for any answers, but I thought it was necessary to at least discuss what we just got back. Like I said, we have 60 days to determine if we're going with that or not. But again, put some thought into it in the next meeting. Ken and I, or Ken and Josh, will look into those dates of expiration, the max extensions, and then maybe we can make a decision and then at that future meeting.
And then also keep in mind, we do have funds in the capital reserve, there's about 1.6 million there. And we also have a very healthy fund balance in the general fund. So there's some other options, and I also think this is a beneficial project, and once we got it going, if we stop it to get more money and start it later, it's just going to end up costing more in the long run, which doesn't really make sense.
And if this project is something the township wants to, not this Cardinal Drive, but the other alternatives the township wants to pursue through other grant opportunities, we already have the videos of those projects in a very recent past. So We had all the utility companies fix their crossbores, pull the electric lines, cable lines out of our pipes to be lined. We had the township fix the areas that completely crushed pipes, block structures, et cetera. So, right now would be in a near time frame, 5 years. That would be the period to continue with that because we already have the existing information of the system.
There is one other option out there, and that is these community development block grants are an annual event. And we could probably, if we want, we could probably reapply for an additional grant come next, it's usually in the early spring that those grant opportunities come up. We could apply again for additional money to complete the project. You would want to have obviously completed as much as we can on this one before you go and ask for more money in a new grant application, but it is a potential thing that we could do.
Okay.
I guess, Casey, the camera work showed that there was significant deterioration. This you can't keep going on forever without being addressed.
Yeah, I think the camera proved to be a smart thing, specifically for the structures that were completely blocked or had crossbores. There's no possible way to line pipes that have those type of issues. So in a case like this, the township would have been looking at a change order had that been bid. Most likely, had that been bid, it wouldn't have been included in the scope to fix 3 to 5 crossbores, crushed pipes, etc. So, you put up that money up front, but then the contractors all have exactly what the pipe's condition is, and we were able to kind of get some of those things addressed before someone finds out later down the road. Plus, it does create a more competitive bidding process because then the contractors aren't quite as conservative with not knowing what they're going to run into. There was one addendum we put in. The road crew had gone out and done some field measurements of the depths of the structures. That was one of the addendums that had been a question in the bidding process. The pipes out there are very shallow. They're all storm pipes. They're not deep. It has good slope. So I think that answered your question on the televising was pertinent to get into this process economically.
This I guess this isn't the only development that's going to have to be addressed at some point.
Well, I think this is a development, Ken, from the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah, this is about the earliest of the major developments. The section we're working in, I believe, was done mostly in the early 1970s. There were parts of the development that started as early as the 1940s. The Keeler and Faust were part of the same development.
So you have CMP, corrugated metal pipe that's been in the ground for 50 to 80 years. That pipe's going to rust out, water's going to run through, it doesn't matter if it's galvanized or not, it's going to rust out. So this process would be to essentially put a plastic material inside of the metal opening and have a new plastic pipe that will outlive all of us in the room.
Multiple years ago, there was a demonstration of the lining process. It's quite impressive, but a bit complicated. So, yeah, I think it makes sense to keep moving forward on this. It's just going to be more of a problem later on, but let's look at the numbers and the details a little closer.
Okay. Thank you.
With that being said, I think that's it for our action reports. Unless there's any more comments for me on anything going around in the township.
Okay. Thanks, Casey. Okay, proposed ordinance extension for LERTA.
Members of the board, we have been awaiting action of the school district and the county, and both of them have acted to approve the extension. So,
Actually, sorry to interrupt you, but the school district did, but the county came back and said they want the township to approve it first, and then they'll consider it and take action.
I misread that last email that I
Yes.
Okay, well, in any event,
Yeah.
so we've been waiting for the school district in the county, we're still waiting for the county. It's up to you to decide whether you want to move forward. We could advertise this for consideration as early as the October 6th meeting. We have time, we could push it to the October 20 meeting if you wish.
It will not be officialized until the county
Correct.
does their part.
Correct.
We,
They want us to go first.
Yeah, and if you don't have any concerns, I think we should move it on, we should schedule the hearing on the 6th, because this does expire, in November.
November 27th.
And we don't know how long the county is going to take to put it on an agenda for action.
I agree. It's time to move ahead.
All right, then need a motion to direct us to advertise for October 6th.
So I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement of the proposed ordinance for the LRTA, the Local Revitalization Tax Assistance Program through September 26th of 2027. I'll make that motion. We have a second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments or questions on that one? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, and that motion carries. Okay, so the next action item we have is the Cubmobile race for Reamstown Cub Pack number 60. So we have a request, let me read the letter here. It's from Cub Pack 60 in Reamstown. It says, Cub Pack 60 Reamstown is planning a Cubmobile race for Saturday, October 1. We are inquiring if the township would allow the pack to use Ebersol Road for this activity as in past years. We would need the road closed from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. While the section of road that we use does not prohibit residents from being able to leave Ebersol Road in one direction or another, as in years past, we will notify residents in writing of this closure before the event. Fire, police will be contacted, as in prior years, as well for traffic control at this event. Any questions regarding this event, please reach out to me, Mark Ebersol, Cubmaster, Pack 60. Okay, so gentlemen, what is the wish of the board?
I believe this has been going on for a lot of years and a successful event. No reason why not to support it going forward.
Yeah, and in the past, it's always been well organized. It's very well organized.
Never been an issue that I heard.
So,
It's always great seeing what they come up with. Who's the faster one going down the street, so. I'll make a motion to approve the closing of Ebersol Road on Saturday, October 1st from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the Cub Scout Pack 60 Cubmobile race event in corporation with notifying the fire police the day before the event.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, and that motion carries. Okay, department reports. Police Department, Chief.
Good morning.
Morning.
On the 16th of this year, we had the PCCD compliance audit for bringing juveniles into the station. Excuse me. It's an audit we have, an individual comes out from Shippensburg University who works for PCCD to make sure that we're following all the rules in reference to housing juveniles. It's the normal thing we do. We don't put juveniles in cells unless they're extremely violent, and we don't house juveniles with adults. So besides that, we passed that audit with no issues and no problems. Every month, if we do bring a juvenile into the station, I have to go onto their website and indicate that we did so. Indicate that they were handcuffed, not handcuffed, in a secure holding, that kind of thing. So it's a common thing, but I just wanted to make everybody aware we had that audit and everything was fine. All the new patrol vehicles are in service and functioning properly. So we worked out all the bugs and the upfitting. This is the first time we used Cox 33, and with these issues, we received an apology and some equipment that we needed with no additional cost to us. So they took that into consideration due to the fact that we had cars sitting out there for a week or two that we couldn't use. With that being said, I'm hoping that the patrol truck will be delivered sometime in November, fingers crossed. And we're going to move certain cars around, if you will. One of the sedan patrol cars is going to be used by the school resource officer. He's currently in car 10, which is in need of being put out of service. It's at that point. So if we move car 5 to the school resource officer car, dismantle car 10, we will not have to buy an additional camera or new radio for the patrol truck because we are transferring things to that. So we'll save a little bit of money there in reference to what we had budgeted for the in-car cameras. So when they delivered for the second time one of the patrol cars, their representative indicated to me that the following day was the closing of the window of ordering new cars for 2023. So I spoke to him and I said, if I give you a number and it's not placed in the budget and we decide, or the township supervisors decide not to move in that direction, would there be any issue with those cars being used? And he kind of chuckled and said, not at all. I told him 2 cars is what I will be asking the board for next year in reference to purchase of new vehicles. Because I wanted to get it in before the deadline. If we decide to go, or you decide to go in a different direction, there will be no issue, no repercussions towards us. So I put that number in just to be safe. Another repair that needed to happen was the urinal in the men's locker room. Instead of paying ongoing plumbing costs because it continually clogged, I replaced plumbing and heating, replaced the urinal in the men's bathroom. So you'll see that in this list of bills or next list of bills, but building's getting older, things are failing downstairs, so we need to replace them. Detective Van Alsdahl and Officer Fisher took some training in reference to instruct groups, businesses, houses of worship, that type of thing, on active shooters and how to respond to those for those businesses. They've already did one talk with the business, and I'm sure there'll be many more on that come up in the future, knowing that we have individuals that are trained to do that. So if you are aware of anyone or any churches or any other places that are interested in doing that, we now have 2 officers that are trained that can go out and do that. Detective Van Alsdahl is, again, at a week-long training in reference to active shooter. Once he's done with that, we should be able to plan a full-scale event sometime next year, and I'll be asking for the equipment in the budget. There is some training equipment that would be very useful in those drills, which I'll explain later when we go through the budget process. But there's some additional costs, but I think it's well worth those costs in reference to the active shooter training, not only for the police department, for other agencies, other police departments, but for also the fire departments and the EMS. So those are things we're looking at for next year. And finally, tonight I will be attending a, I guess you would call it a town hall, or get to know Senator Gephardt at the Shaverstown Fire Hall. tonight in reference to fire EMS. He's our new senator, so we would like to get to know all fire's people, and it's probably much easier to have one meeting where they can go. So I plan on going to that tonight. I think it's at 6:30. So I don't know if you have any questions. That's my report.
Any questions for the chief?
Did Officer Van Alstyne travel for this training? Or?
The first training was in North Carolina, the one he attended. So he was down there for a week, and this training is in somewhere near Pittsburgh.
So he traveled.
Yes.
Okay.
First one obviously flew, this one he drove out. But it's kind of one of those things where officers who were trained in it before have retired, all the retirements we've had. So there's actually quite a bit of training coming up within the next month or two. 3 officers are going to the second 2 full weeks of accident reconstruction training. It's the end of September and the first week in October. 2 officers are going to critical incident training. I think that's the second week in October. For the full week, we have the intoxilizer is not in service yet, but it has been delivered. And we are fortunate to have a state trooper out of Lancaster Barracks that is a trainer on that, and he's going to come up September 27th and October 18th and train the department. But September 27th, that afternoon, the intoxilizer will be put in service here. Therefore, we won't have to travel anywhere else. So we were fortunate that he could squeeze us in September to get at least part of the department trained. And what I'm going to try and do is get someone from each shift to go on the 27th, so they can use it for each shift that works. There was something else that Nazro, Eric is going to the National School Resource Officer Conference. It's being held in Phoenix, and he is fortunate enough, we are saving a little bit of money there on lodging because he has a place he can stay out there at no cost.
Is he driving?
Probably not. So, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Is some of all this additional training due to retirements this year, or what?
I think it's been retirements over the last several years. We've had so many people retire in the department, and when they retire, all that experience goes out the door. So we're really trying to catch up and get people trained on all the things that we feel are important.
Truck inspection ever be part of that?
You have to, I say it every time, you have to have a unique individual who's very interested in doing that, and so far I haven't found one that's volunteer. So
Nobody on the force, huh?
nobody so far wants to roll under a cattle truck in 90-degree weather. But that's only during that.
Been there, done that.
I'm sure. So it's always an option.
Maybe the chief ought to step up.
Maybe you could deputize a supervisor.
There you go.
That'd be nice to see
Oh,
Jeff.
man.
You did say your experience.
Okay.
You have the experience.
You know what?
I'd pay to see
I
that.
heard Sharon say that, and I heard you say it. Do you want to make a motion? Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Absolutely. Would I be pension eligible?
He's so young.
25 years from now.
I make a motion.
At one time, the mayor of Marietta was a part-time patrol officer. You knew Bruiser. Yeah,
Don't talk him into it.
yeah.
I'm about to really make a motion.
Okay, Director of Community Development, Sharon.
Okay, so at our last meeting, I reported that we did get the PennDOT permit for installation of the emergency preemption systems at 897 and 272 and 272 in Garden Spot Road. I thought that the board had only authorized expenditure of the $24,000 that was on CM High's May 5th proposal. I found out subsequently that at a second meeting, the board did authorize the expense of the $6,100 that's necessary for the back plates that need to be installed. So the board had authorized both of those, and the contribution that is going to be made by Ephrata Township does reflect both their portion of both of those proposals. So that's good. However, CM High went out to start the work and discovered that at 897, they were unable to run the wire through the conduit that goes under, I believe it's 272. They tried it from both directions, and it looks like there's a breakage or breakdown in the conduit. They were able to pretty well narrow down the location for running it from both directions. So I talked to John Schick about this to make sure I understood all the circumstances. Basically, it needs to be repaired. Even if we weren't going to run the conduit under there, and we're going to do something different, it needs to be repaired because there could be damage to the existing wires that are in there. So since CM High doesn't know what the conditions are in there, they want to do that on a time and materials basis. They don't want to give us a proposal because they just don't know what's going to be involved yet. So fortunately, as I said, they have narrowed it down to a pretty small area, so they're not going to need to dig up, giant areas of the pavement. So that's one issue. And of course, that would be all of township expense at that intersection.
The details of that, new conduit is required?
Well, they don't know yet because they don't know what is creating the blockage. I don't really know the technical aspects of conduit, but I would imagine if they could, I don't know if it's, well, they probably would have to do it. I guess it would depend on they would have to at least pull the wires out if they can repair it, and then,
You don't know if it's a
wires
break,
back through.
you don't know, Jeff, if it's a break in one piece of the conduit or the entire conduit itself is deteriorated.
So I was just
So you look at it.
wondering if it would require a new boring, a new conduit, to get pretty.
Well,
No one tell you.
Yeah, and the way they explained it to me, if it's a break in just one location, but the conduit looks fine, otherwise they can, pull the wire out, do the repair, and put the wire back through. So it hopefully won't involve replacement of all the conduit, but until they open up that portion of the road, they won't know.
I get concerned about opening work orders that sky's the limit.
Well, I do understand that, but until they get in there, they aren't going to know, and they don't want to commit to
We'll
it.
have more
right?
information.
Once they get in there, yes. At Garden Spot, when they opened up to run the new wires through the conduit, they discovered that in one, so basically they have to do it, I guess, on 4 sides, but in the one direction, they discovered that the conduit is already full and there's absolutely no possibility of running the new wires through the conduit. So we have 2 options. One is to run a new conduit for the wires for the preemption and I suppose any future needs. That is, I guess you would say, the better route. The other option is to run the wires overhead, which would involve them going up, of course, the signal, out along the signal arm. That would be the second, that would be the least preferred route. However, there is a price difference, of course. To do the boring of the new conduit, it does actually go under 272. Price, I can give you a copy of the proposal. I only just got this finally from CNI this morning. The price would be $12,670.49. The price to run a span over 272 is $5,750. And that location, I understand, that would be something that we would want to approach Bedford Township about sharing. But I haven't talked to them yet because I found out that we don't need additional funds for the initial project. So there is a motion as a placeholder on the agenda, but I'm supposed to get the proposals early in the week so that you would have time to digest them. They would be in your packets, but he only finally got it to me this morning. So he understands that that work can't proceed until the board authorizes it, and they were out there starting, but under the circumstances, of course, they don't want to continue, even with repairs at 897 without the board's authorization. So I have copies here. All of you. I did confirm that PennDOT does not need to grant any additional approvals for this work, including including the digging to locate the source of the jam at 897.
So here's the question I have, Sharon. Two things. In my mind, I'm breaking this up into two separate things, right? The one at 897 intersection. Okay, we've got to open that road. We've got to see what the damage is done. Waiting another 2 weeks doesn't help us at all. Or 3 weeks doesn't help us at all. So I think that has to be done separately, in my opinion, and we get that going. My question on then, running a span at 272 in Garden Spot. Here's how I look at it. If they run a bore through there and they run a new conduit, anything else that has to get run there in the future, it's already there. Done. It's ready for the future. Okay? Running it over the road is a temporary fix. We've got nothing else running over the road at that point in time. Okay? So technically, I personally think it should be bored, done properly, and you're ready for the future, versus a temporary fix, in my mind, of running it over the road. Aesthetically also, aesthetically nothing matches. We've got a wire hanging over the road where there's no other wire hanging over the road, and that's gone. So those are my thoughts.
Judy, was ARPA funding going to be used for the energy project?
I don't believe so, but I wanted to ask, would we be able to use traffic impact money for this?
I don't think so.
Because we do have 25,000 budgeted for traffic signals and signs, and we've only spent 9,000.
We might be able to category, yes.
That's possible.
I think we could.
So the initial total of the basic work was $30,100. So depending on which direction the board wants to go, and if the township is willing to make a contribution, I should say it's $30,000 less the amount of money that Ephrata Township has agreed to contribute towards the Garden Spot work, which is roughly $8,000. So that brings.
So you're talking about the preemption devices.
For the initial, right, the initial work.
That work was budgeted in ARPA.
Oh, okay. So I guess a question would be then, can the additional repair work be also budgeted out of ARPA? Worst case here, if Ephrata Township does not want to contribute, would be an additional $12,670.49. Worst case.
If we go with boring.
If you go with boring, best case, they contribute to half of that. Or if the decision is to go overhead, of course, it's less money.
Well, I'm a little concerned about the ARPA funding. It's dissipating very quickly. We have a lot of ideas we still need to talk about. For this, considering the urgency and the fact that we cannot wait, I would recommend either traffic impact, and if that's not possible, capital reserve or even general fund balance. I'm sure our general fund balance can handle it.
You're the expert on this, what are your thoughts?
Traffic impact fee money needs to be spent in a certain time frame. We're not up against any deadlines, but, you know, it needs to be spent within a time frame. It also needs to be spent within capital improvement areas, and that may just be an allocation of the money budgeted as opposed to budgeted for a specific region or area. I just tell you to look at that, consider that, and if there are any questions, we can talk about it with Brent and John.
I know we do have a large, probably our largest balance as far as the areas
Right.
is in the generic category where it can be, there were some people that said you can spend it anywhere.
There you go.
And,
Okay, so that's,
and there's definitely, that's the largest portion of the pie.
we just need to consider that
Yeah.
and properly record it. Yeah, okay, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's a valid point. So we need clarification on that one to address 272 and Garden Spot. Right. So I'm still keeping these separate in my mind,
There are a
right?
lot
So we
of
definitely
parts
need that clarification.
Including what, what Ephrata Township's will responsible.
Including what effort is responsible,
And,
right?
yeah, if there's a question about that specific, that's a Brent and John question on the allocation on the areas.
And I think with the urgency of this, whether or not Ephrata participates in this part of it, I would recommend making the motion to cover the entire cost, and then if Ephrata does come back and contribute, we will deposit that money back into the traffic impact fund. Since we don't know, that's an unknown, and
I brought this up at the last meeting. And this is my opinion. They're our neighbors. They got upset the first time. They'll get upset again. My opinion, this does need done, and I agree with RC. I really think we should do the long-term fix over the temporary fix. It'd be great if they participate, but we should always ask first, as before just saying go ahead and approve this. That's my opinion. I know there's an urgency to it, and we discussed this last time at the last meeting, but just to keep everyone all on the same page, we need to work good with our surrounding community. It's not just about what we want. You know, sometimes things like this, again, that's my opinion, we should run it by them first.
There really is not urgency per se for the Garden Spot intersection. So you could reduce the motion to authorizing them to do repair work at 897. And then if you want us to do, at least reach out to Steve in the meantime, so it's not in the paper, and that's how he finds out about it. Again, we can do some more research and or just narrow things down a little bit. I can talk to Steve in the meantime if you want to defer the motion on the Garden Spot Road work.
But if you're going to talk to Ephrata, I agree with Lawrence, but if you're going to talk with Ephrata, we at least owe them clarification on what our preference is. Is our preference the underground or just going over the top? So we have to give you some, we owe you an answer now as some guidance there from an opinion basis.
Overhead makes no sense. Sooner or later, a storm or something happens and it's on the ground.
But the 897, or see if you want to make a motion for that one, we can get that one started.
Yeah, so before we go there, yes, before we go there then, so that gives you clarification, Sharon, to handle 272 and Garden Spot Road, right? So you got clarification from us on our preferences. You'll talk to Effort about that. And then, as council said, we need to double check real quick in terms of the TIP funding, if that can apply. Okay? So that takes care of that one. So with that being said, then I'll make a motion to authorize CM High to proceed with the conduit repair at North Reading Road, Route 897 intersection.
That's pretty much it for that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Any questions or comments from?
I guess before we go ahead, with the understanding that, you know, if this becomes a major project, that we revisit it, the board revisit it.
At 897.
Yes.
I'll make sure he understands that once they get in there and know what kind of repairs they are, that he can try to give me some idea of man hours and materials to repair that.
If this becomes a boring project, well, then we need to discuss it further.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure we have too much choice, but I will
Well,
make sure that he
I
at
get
least
that.
gives
All right.
us numbers.
So at least we'll be
We'll get
aware.
numbers
Yep.
from him.
Great. Okay, I'm good.
There was a question.
Oh, sure.
Yes,
The
sir.
conduits,
I'm sorry,
the
name?
fittings that are being broken.
Terry, I'm sorry, name please.
Terry Hobbs.
Thank you.
Is it fittings being broken or is the road sinking?
They don't know yet because
Then how do you want to repair it?
what's happening is the conduit, they can't get the new wires through. So there's obviously a blockage of some kind, and they don't know whether that means, I guess the most likely cause is that the conduit has either, separated
Yeah.
or it's broken and collapsed.
Well, then it has to do with either fittings or the road collapsing. That's what
Yeah.
makes the conduit break.
Until they get in there, they won't know.
We need more information.
Which they're gonna get us.
Right.
Well, it's a good question. We'll have that answer after they cut it open and look into it and see it.
Well, if the road's sinking, then it has to do with the stone and the tamping and remanufacturing and putting everything back in.
Well, we're not saying the road is sinking. All we're saying right now is we gave them authority to go ahead and look to determine exactly what happened there.
They did not tell me that there's any visual indication that the road is sinking, but, they need to see, I guess there's several inches of material they need to get down through to get to the conduit, so,
Okay?
okay.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Stephanie Sanforo. I understand why you're splitting the two of them apart with what Lorenzo said in regards to talking after the township. I'm going to generalize this as first responders just so I don't single out one or another. The 897 intersection though has had multiple first responders in marked vehicles, whether it be police, fire, EMS, accidents take place because there's multiple blind spots there. And that intersection should have a higher sense of urgency to get that done as soon as possible, and cost should not be a factor because one of your officers or firefighters' life should not be put at risk because it's not there.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. That motion carries.
Okay, I also just wanted to report that activity we have a lot of activity besides projects. There are various stages in the pipeline. We had 4 pre-application meetings in the last 2 weeks. Pre-application meeting process is something that we do. It's voluntary for potential developers, but they definitely appreciate the procedure process, and as do we. We have them come in and sit down with township representative and what other professional consultants are appropriate depending on what they want to do. Generally, it would be the township engineer and the township traffic engineer. They bear the cost then of the outside consultants coming in, but it's a minor cost, all things considered, and they get information from everyone on factors they need to consider if they decide to move ahead with development on that particular property. They get a lot of good information so that they're able to evaluate whether from a feasibility standpoint it's worth something they want to pursue. So we had 4 of those, and we will be having 2 more in the next couple of weeks. We have a tremendous amount of interest from mostly commercial, some industrial developers in coming into the township. A lot of the issues for commercial, especially developers, is that available properties are along 272, and as we just heard and you all know, access is the primary issue for further development along 272, so that anyone coming in with a project that doesn't have a lot of revenue winds up being discouraged because cost of the road improvements are just too high for them to move forward. But we have some that do move forward, and some of them that we definitely expect to come through. We don't want to say who they are because at this point it's so preliminary. They have not authorized us to put their names out in the public. But as time goes by, if they do decide to go ahead, you obviously will hear about it. So tremendous amount of interest in coming into the township. And then finally, Judy asked me to just bring this up as a sort of heads-up information item. As you know, we've all been trying to deal with the vast amount of paper we have stored in the Public Works garage and that has been in the conference room. One of the big problems is land development plans that we need to keep, want to keep in paper form. In years past, we did not get electronic versions of those. Unfortunately, we do now, but we didn't. And so even if we decide that we want to have them all scanned, so that we do keep them, and that should be a goal in the long run, that there's obviously a cost of doing that. But I would say that we don't want to just rely on electronic versions. There's a lot of value to having at least more recent and certainly ongoing land development plans and subdivision plans actually in physical form in the township office. Also, we have a lot of building permit plans, commercial building permit plans typically are, they can be rolls like this. And the Uniform Construction Code requires that we keep those plans for the lifespan of the building. So for our purposes, you could just say forever. So they are taking up a lot of room. You may have noticed all the rolls on top of the file cabinets, which is not a way to store them. So I would like to get flat files, assuming you all know what those are, so that the plans can be laid out. They're not in rolls. The drawers are labeled. It's not hard to find them. I've, in my past life dealing with plans, this is the best way to access them, store them. They don't get all, torn and so forth. And the goal is to, as we get the file cabinets that are in there now emptied out, and there's space for these that will enable us to organize things going forward. So what I'd like to do is use some ARPA funding to purchase 3 5-drawer flat cabinets plus the base that they sit on. Any higher than that, you can't see into the thing without a ladder, and you want to have that top surface to, to lay things out.
Sharon, can I add something real quick?
Sure.
Just for the public's understanding, the flat files are really, think of a toolbox. Your toolboxes have those very thin drawers. The flat files are oversized version of those where you lay all the plans nice and flat and everything's kept and stored and organized. That's what a flat file is.
And this is what the plans look like. There's plans up here on the table right now, so you can see the drawers are big enough to fit them without having to fold them or anything.
So think of massive oversized toolboxes.
Those are thin examples.
Yes, these are very thin.
They are. And the building permit plans are not only much larger sets, but they are also larger. So with that in mind, I want to get the 42 by 30 inch drawers so that we can accommodate those bigger plans. Each drawer supposedly holds up to 200 sheets per drawer, which sounds like a lot, but we have plans that are 100 sheets in a roll. So I'd like to get the 3 cabinets plus the base. I did look at various suppliers, including Knolt. They get them in very infrequently, and they're out the door the minute they come in. Judy looked at GovBid, and the prices on them are more than,
Used is the same as new.
Yeah, they're specialized. You can't just go to Office Basics or anything like that to get them. So I did look at a whole bunch of different sources, and the least expensive was Uline. From what I can see, the quality seems to be there. To get the 3 plus the base is just shy of $3,000, and I don't know what the freight cost would be. So I'd like to, there's no motion on here. I think, I don't know if that's up to below my spending limit or not, but I'd like to at least, give you the heads up that I'd like to use some of the ARPA funding for that purpose.
And we could use what's already budgeted in the digitation project line for her filing cabinets. I think that would fall into that category.
Okay. So I have 2 questions for you, Sharon, to think about for the next meeting, then we can make a final decision,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
2 questions. Do 3 cabinets really give you the capacity, what you need of what's sitting back there? Because I'm thinking of the pile that's back there. And the diameter of some of those
I don't know
plans.
if I could get 6, that would be great. I just didn't want to overreach.
Well, once again, let's think about what do we really need.
Right. I'm gonna, it's hard to totally evaluate that, but that would be ideal to have building permit plans, building permit plans in one set of cabinets and land development plans
Right,
in the other.
because council's here. In my mind too, heaven forbid there were a major litigation issue or construction defect claim or something going on, right? We need access to those documents. We might need access to those documents in the future. So they're important to keep.
They are, and the other factor is, in the case of at least the subdivision and land development plans, we want to have the ability to pull them out if members of the public want to look at them. And for our staff, because there are so many special conditions on plans these days that the zoning officer, whoever needs to really be able to easily access them, it's hard to, frankly, even with the size display I have, it's not the easiest thing to look at all the plan notes on a computer. That's one factor. With respect to the commercial plans, we are required to keep them in paper form. However, after 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security came out with a ruling they don't want commercial plans to be viewable by the public. So I believe if the property owner gives consent, they can, but the default is that members of the public can't look at the building permit plans, not the land development plans.
There are procedures under the right to know law to protect the issues that Homeland Security requires be protected, utility services, things like that.
Critical infrastructure on
And Sharon, I believe I remember you telling me that these stack.
They do.
But you wouldn't want to stack more than two because you want to be able.
I wouldn't want to stack more than 3.
So I would recommend getting even numbers. If you
Oh,
get 3, and then you want to get 4 or get 6.
Well, that's why I said 6, because I don't want to get more than 3 high.
Okay.
It's just, it's not useful
And it would
anymore.
be unsafe, you know, to stand on a step stool.
I mean, in terms of the structure of the cabinets, they say you can actually stack them up to 5 high, but that's not useful. Because you need to be able to see into the drawers.
That would be dangerous.
Okay, so the second question I had, I said there were 2. The second question I want you to think about is, this is the magic question, where are we going to put them?
Well, Judy and I talked about that, and
Because they're large.
they are, well, they're 30 inches, let's see, the outside dimensions, they're 36 inches deep. But we want to be able to pull out a lot of those standard file cabinets that are in there as we're working through with the interns and so forth. So with at least one wall of those cabinets cleared out, you know, we expect that
So
we
you
will be
thought
able
about-
to put them, yeah, we've already considered that.
Okay.
Yeah, and we also talked about how far you would pull the drawer out, so would it be double how deep it is, that you'd have to be concerned. We discussed that too, but, yeah, with the addition of those, anything else that would have to be added, there would not be space
There's no
for it.
room.
I recommended maybe getting a smaller conference table back there, or switching up the way it's organized to be more like what the police has down in their training room. I'm not sure what the answer is, but it's definitely crowded back there. I think this will be better, it will make it better than what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some files, I mean, that tall, it's not getting into nuts and bolts, but there are some file cabinets in there that need to be gone through. Some of them do contain plans, and maybe duplicate copies, but I need to get in there to look at it. So it should replace really a lot of even just file cabinets that have plans in them.
And there's some what I would call corporate files, township files back there that I'm working with Lisa. We're trying to decide whether they can be boxed up and sent to Iron Mountain, or if we need to keep them on site, and we may need to pull you into that conversation to make that decision.
And the other thing is that I've been pulling, right now, the project files, the current ones and recent ones are actually in file drawers in the administrative office there, that bank of file cabinets, which is kind of a crazy place to put them. So I've been working on pulling them out of there as I complete that process, which means getting those folded plans into the drawers. If desired, probably the corporate files could be shifted into the now vacant drawers up front, which maybe be a better place, and we could further remove file cabinets in the conference room.
No, and I'm just glad you're thinking about that, both of you, because, I mean, the reality is, I think we're starting to hit capacity on the size of the building.
You know,
If not, we're already over capacity.
it's a boring topic, but it's impossible to overstate, even the storage issue aside, how much time gets wasted when things aren't properly organized, and you know, that's why we really need to continue with getting documents into a digital form and organizing them in the correct fashion. It's going to be an ongoing project. It's just going to take a long time, unfortunately. So it's not glamorous, but it's really important.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, just to comment on all that, I've been talking for some time about rolled up paper back there and plans, and it has to be dealt with. That is the deterioration you can see happening from time to time, and it's a mess, so
Okay.
thank you for moving ahead with some ideas there.
So I'll come back to the next meeting with a better idea of how many cabinets I would need, so that I can ask for a formal motion.
I think you have to have a starting point. You know, it's a process of taking some out, putting some in, and it's not all going to happen at once, is it? I mean, you can't
No.
take them all out, put 6 in, and it's going to have to be done in a step process.
No, we should be able to, I think we will be okay
Roll
to
all
start,
out.
yeah,
Okay?
especially if we're going to start with
It's-
the rolls all piled up on top
Right,
of
I mean, we did try to reorganize it a little bit. Unfortunately, we did it by date when Sharon needed it alphabetically. Wasn't really sure, you know, we weren't really sure, but we did get them in boxes, so at least when we have to move them, we can move 10 of them at a time instead of, you know, one by one, these big rolls. So I agree with Sharon. I think if we get all the drawers we need, then you can put them in alphabetical order the first time you stick them in the files, and you will constantly be shuffling drawers over to get everything in the order it needs to be.
You don't see it becoming an Iron Mountain situation where the hallway's piled full of boxes?
For maybe short periods of time,
All right.
possibly, just to be able to clear it out so we can lay things out to shove them in the drawers, that kind of thing.
I don't
Hopefully
think
not
so.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think, I don't think that would be an issue.
All right.
honestly.
Great. Okay.
And remember one thing, we've got lead time. They may have they may say they have the cabinets, but how long
That's
will it
true.
really take?
That's true, yeah, you're right.
Don't know when delivery will be.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have unless you have any questions.
All right, so financial administration,
Yes, okay, so I am next. I was ready to talk for Brett.
and I think you have one for him also.
I do, but let me reshuffle. Okay, first of all, audits. We finally got our draft of the 2021 audit. I sent that out to the supervisors, I believe it was Friday. It's in draft form. I still need to read through it. I don't know if there's any findings. I didn't get a chance to do that yet. But I'll address them with Mardussel, and they will issue the formal report, and then I'll be ready to present it at a supervisors meeting. And I just need direction from the board. Would you like Jen to come in again like she did last year, or would it be okay for me to go over it?
Thoughts?
Yeah, I have not had a chance to review the draft. It's been one of those weeks. So I will do so, but maybe you've got some input where you want that to go.
Lorenzo?
I'm new to all this.
Oh.
Did you guys find it helpful last year?
I think it was better. I think it's fine. I personally would like Judy to go through it with her and review it. And then if there's any findings, that's when I personally want to see what were the findings, what were the improvements that they're recommending.
Okay, by next meeting, I should be able to get through it, and then I'll let you know whether I think Jen needs to be here or not.
I guess in the past, there was nothing earth-shaking.
Okay, and then also, I heard from the Auditor General's office, couldn't think of the name, for the liquid fuels audit, and that'll be for the prior 2 years. That is scheduled for September 27th, and he believes he can do it in a day, so that one's set up. I have my financial statements for you. The one thing I did want to highlight was the ARPA funds and how much of that is budgeted, but we already discussed that. I don't feel the need to go through that again. So there's balance sheets, there are budget status reports, and I also included, since these reports are as of August 31st, I also included a cash receipts report that shows what we've received month to date for September. Okay, and on that, you can see that we did receive our second tranche of our ARPA funds, $560,385.80. We do have to discuss moving that money out of the general fund and into the ARPA fund. So that, I believe that's a motion. I don't know if it's under my report or if it's somewhere. I think we need to do that now. So I'm looking for a motion to move that money out of the general fund and out of the general fund at Ephrata National Bank and into the ARPA funds at Univest Bank and Trust.
And what were those amounts, Jim?
560,000.
It's $560,385.80.
Do you have a motion?
Just as clarification, Judy, was that still on the list of bills then?
Yes, it is also on the list of bills because this is done by check.
Yes, correct.
Since it's being moved from one bank to the other, I can't transfer it electronically. It has to be done by check.
Correct. Okay. Yes, I don't have that motion in front of me, but
Will you make that motion?
Yeah. And it was the Univest account, right?
Yes, it's going from Ephrata to Univest, simply because that's where we set the account up last year.
I'd like to make a motion to transfer the ARPA funds in $560,385.80 from our general account over at Ephrata to our Univest account.
and I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, none. The motion carries.
Okay, we also have a stack of signature cards that need to be signed with Ephrata National Bank. Jeff, did you want to talk about the reason why at all?
Yeah, when we, Ephrata changed our interest rate there, they did it on our general fund account, but they failed to move it in our other reserve accounts. So we are currently not getting the higher interest rate on those accounts. So this is basically just a bookkeeping issue. I contacted them about, why didn't this happen, and they had some reasons why. So this will clear that up, and all of our effort accounts will now be getting that higher interest rate.
So this is not, we're not closing accounts and reopening new ones, we're just changing existing accounts, so no resolution is required. It's just the signature cards that need to be signed.
It's administrative.
Correct. So I don't know if the motion needs to be made?
No, it's an administrative item.
Okay. Okay, and I believe those are in your file,
We
your
have
folder
it
to
here,
sign
yes.
with the other
Yes.
documentation.
I'm sorry, Matt, right? It's
Yeah.
administrative.
This is carrying out prior decisions.
Yeah, they have a checking account, and then they have like a checking plus, and with these interest rates, and just, it's an interbank issue.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last thing, the moment you've all been waiting for, the 2023 budget schedule. So it's very aggressive. I've already spoken to Sharon and the chief about what we need to do here. We're going to start next week. I'm going to meet with each of the department heads to calculate their projections, see if they're going to have enough money to finish out this year in their budgets. Because that is my basis for 2023, basically. So that's why I do that step. Then the last week of September, I'm going to meet with them again to discuss their wish lists. Going into October is when we start our budget workshops. So the one on October 12th, we need to move to October 13th. Jeff pointed out that that's a Wednesday and that's planning commission. I thought I caught them all, but I was on zoning,
Yeah.
okay. I tried to catch all the other meetings that were scheduled, so if you would mark that when you're in October month, that wages will actually be due on Thursday the 13th.
If you want to go ahead and do that, that's fine, but I don't believe we're going to have this hearing meeting that night. I don't have any applications. So it's totally up to you.
Yeah,
Whatever's more convenient.
I'll leave it up to the board, but these do have to be advertised. Now, I wasn't sure if the wages workshop would be like under an executive session, since it's really on employees. I wasn't sure, but if it's public, it needs to be advertised, and we need to make sure Lisa has the time to do
Well,
that.
You're going to be advertising the entire list.
Okay,
You can advertise that date, and then they can go into executive session.
so we
if
can
they
go
need
into,
to.
okay.
when we discuss individual
Right, and
employees.
the other thing
Okay.
to keep in mind, you have to advertise the meeting, you don't have to advertise a cancellation. So if you have
Okay.
something on the
So a
list.
cancellation would just be a notice on the
On
board.
the board, yeah.
Gotcha, okay. All right, so the first one is October 12th or 13th. I have it scheduled for the 12th, we can change it to the 13th. The next one would be Wednesday, October 26th, and that's specifically to discuss the general fund. So that one's probably gonna be pretty long, okay? And again, if we need to change that, we could change that to the 27th. There's no meeting scheduled for that day. These are just my suggestions. Wednesday, November 2nd. That's not, when's election day? Is that the 8th?
It's Tuesday.
Is it the 1st or the 8th? It's the 8th, isn't it?
I think it's the, I'll check it for you right
Okay.
now.
All right, so Tuesday, or Wednesday, November 2nd is the session for just ARPA, so we can schedule out our entire allocation and make sure we get that spent on and don't lose any of it.
It's the,
Okay. Monday, November 7th, we'll do all the other funds, and that will be including the recreation fund, so I don't know if we want to invite them to attend. We haven't, I don't know that we've done that in the past. November 10th, we'll have a meeting. That one's going to be in the morning, and that one's just to ensure that we are ready to advertise, that we don't want to make any last minute changes. The plan is to advertise for 20 days from November 14th to November 30th. I'm sorry, actually it's December 3rd will be the 20 days. If we, after those 20 days, if we decide we need to adjust it, we would have to re-advertise. So there is a schedule for December 5th if we need it. That will give us time to re-advertise it, and those are the days blocked off in that teal color. I did it for 20 days, but it may possibly be only 10 that we have to do a re-advertisement. I did attach the,
yeah, top of my head, I don't.
yeah, I did attach the township code, so you have all the information. But if it's 20, I have plenty of time there. So if we do not need to re-advertise, we can adopt at December 15th meeting. If we do need to re-advertise, we would have to add a meeting on December 29th to get it in before the deadline of the 31st.
Okay,
And that's everything.
so let's get this one resolved right now since we're here. So budget workshop on the 12th on Wednesday. You do not believe zoning,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah.
and nothing will come up at the last minute?
It
Could,
could tomorrow, but I usually know I'm getting something, and you really want to be 100% sure, maybe just advertise it for the first.
let's just move it to the 13th then, just in case.
Okay.
Because we don't want to back them up if something pops up.
I'm gonna say something unpopular. you've got it at times of 4 to 7. Can we as a board discuss perhaps a morning workshop meeting? 3 o'clock in October, that messes up my work schedule unless it's a rainy day. So is that a possibility for staff to do that in the board? And also Lorenzo, how do you feel about these days?
I actually emailed Judy, Wednesdays are my worst day.
And we do have, I think we can change them all. The 2 on Wednesday, we could move to Thursday. And then there's the 1 on the 2nd, we could move it back to Tuesday. We could do that because Thursday would be the supervisors meeting, we wouldn't be able to do it then. So we can move them, just let me know what you want to do, and then I'll send out a revised copy. We definitely want to get it straight before Lisa advertises.
Tuesday, Thursdays are great for me, I can make myself available at any time. Wednesday, it's tricky. If I have to, I'll bring some hoops, but,
What about morning versus evening?
if we do Wednesdays, I'd be available up to about 9:30-ish, 10 o'clock.
Probably even 8 o'clock start that we get somewhere finished.
These go,
Yeah, and that's,
I'm telling you now, they go
Tuesday or Thursdays, I can be here all day with you guys.
I think when you and I and Alan sat down one time,
3 plus 1.
that was
And I would not be able to-
4.5 hours, right, Alan?
I would not be able to get in
They go a
before
long
8. I need to drop my daughter.
6 o'clock.
I can't do that. I can stay late, but I cannot get
Yeah,
in
they go,
before 8.
you gotta plan for 4 to 5 hours.
Tuesday, Thursdays are great.
I broke them up a little bit to try to avoid that this year. It needs more meetings, but less time in meetings.
Yeah, and that's a good thing.
So,
It's just that 4 to 7.
Feedback, I'm not sure.
I mean, is
And
this
you
something
don't-
we have to discuss here, or can we discuss it after?
We can do it
Discuss it
afterwards.
here.
No.
We can discuss it afterwards. Okay, all right, let's do that.
We're all to that. If you have reservations about a morning meeting somewhere in there.
I'll make it work.
So
I'm
shall we
not
move?
saying everyone, but
Shall we
let's.
move the wages to the 13th, and we'll do it from 8 to 10?
I'll make it work. I drove back last time for the BOS meeting from New Jersey and got in the car and drove right back in the evening, so I'll make it work.
Or would 6 to 9 in the evening be better? It's at 4 o'clock, it's just my day.
Well,
That kills my day.
if we do 6 to 9, I'm not going home at 4:30. I will be here from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah, we're gonna
for
overstress
5
it.
meetings.
We're gonna overstress it.
I'm just asking. Just asking.
Just do it during the day, because I'd rather not overstress the employees. You guys are you're gonna be here 16 hours.
That's fine.
We'll discuss these later.
Okay.
Discuss days later and times?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll make it work, Judy.
Okay, great, thank you.
You guys figure out the days.
We'll try and scatter a little somewhere always some.
Judy, are you gonna bring up the road crew or is she?
I'm finished with my report. We can move on to the road crew report, and yes, I'll bring that up. As soon as I get that there. Okay, so Brett is on vacation. He did have a request he needs to get new tires for a backhoe, I believe. He does have some quotes. One is from Martin's Tire and Alignment. That quote is $3,250. Oh, there's sales tax in there. Let me give you the amount without sales tax. It's $3,033.80. And then the other one is from Skyview Tractor Repairs. They also have tax. Theirs is $3,272.82. These were not in his original budget, but he does have money that he says he believes he will have available in his tool budget that he could move out of one line and put into the other.
Looks as though they're bidding the same tires. The rear tire. And the front ones too. They're bidding the same exact tires.
He's looking for a motion.
Yes.
Okay, what's the wish of the board? So, the difference in price is, it's less than that. 50-something.
No, it's 3272 versus 3033.
3,033. So
I'll make a motion to approve the quote with Martin's Tire and Alignment from Morgantown for the purchase of 2 Galaxy Mighty Track tires and 2 Michelin Power CL tires for a backhoe, quote number 261709. That total will be $3,033.80.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries. Okay, so that's all you have? Okay, thank you. Ken, MS4, anything in addition to what was discussed with Casey?
Yes, one other thing. Our pollutant reduction plan, the PRP, needed to be amended to include the FS4 program, the agricultural conservation practices. And we have completed the draft of that. I sent the draft along to the person we work with down at DEP, who asked for if you had any comments on it before we submit it officially. But it's been prepared. Jeff has, I don't recall whether the other supervisors seen it. Jeff has seen it.
Yes.
And assisted with that. So hopefully we will get that straightened out in the near future.
Kudos to you, Ken, in putting that together. You compared our soil types, or Lancaster County soil, to soil in China as part of your reference material. And I've never been there to know how it is over there, but I do know Lancaster County, so no feedback from them yet, or?
From China?
No.
The China reference was an article that talked about the fact that the falling raindrops cause most of the soil erosion. It's not the water running across the ground, it's the impact of the raindrops that digs up the soil.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
And the rain is, as I understand, pretty much the same in China.
Okay. All right, anything else then?
No.
Any questions? Any questions for Ken?
The rate is the same there as here.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Okay, treasurer's report, list of bills.
there's the bills. Okay. We have check payments for the general fund account on a list of bills in the amount of $28,180.11 with a starting date of September 1st through September 8th. Are there any questions on those bills?
I'd just like to point one out if I could. So check number 62899, the vendor's Conestoga, but the vendor name is Stewart Business Systems for $1,168.60. I just want to point out that that is our quarterly bill for the office copier, and that is for price per copy. So we get 12,000 free black and white copies a quarter. We pay 5.5 cents a piece for color copies. That's what that is, $1,168, and that's just for 3 months. So again, we go back to the digitization and getting things, scanned. Right there's savings. So I know it's expensive to do, but we think what we're doing now is free, and it's not. It's not free. There's a cost to everything.
That's why I get the meeting packet in PDF.
Exactly.
I want everything in PDF. Let's wait to carry on.
Okay, seeing none, I make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, any comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, none, and that motion carries.
Okay. And here is our second list of bills. We have payments from the general fund account, listed bills in the amount of $617,655.44, with checks dated of September 15th. Now, there is one check there. Don't everybody be alarmed. We didn't just spend $600 and some thousand. A large check there from Effort Bank to Univest for the $560,000 of ARPA funds did happen. It is part of this list of bills. But we did make a motion previously to move that money. So this is just doubling down at this point, having it on the list of bills. But I know there were some comments at the last meeting, and I've received some comments since about cash transfers on the list of bills. So just as explanatory method here, Judy and I had discussed this yesterday, looking for possibilities of taking cash transfers off of the list of bills with the other bills and creating a separate format for that, so that we can have clarification that a cash transfer is not a bill per se. I think that would help keep some clarity on what's going on, and I think we perhaps found a way to do that with the auditors not having a problem.
And I did let Jeff know that it takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to process a check run, whether that check run has one check in it or 35 or 50 checks. So to do this, to do it this way and separate this out, it would take me about 45 minutes to an hour of my time to put it on a separate list of bills. But if that's the way we want to do it, then I can certainly do it that way.
Why do we need a separate list of bills for that?
Well,
Because the auditors want to see sequential check numbers.
That's correct, and that can be avoided by creating that list on a different day. It comes down to dates on the calendar, and I understand she can't pull the checks out of sequence to do this, but it can be done on a different day.
No, I just don't understand why we would even need to do that, because right here we have it well documented from an accounting, from a GAAP perspective of what money went where.
We're trying to keep it a little more clear to the public, is my thought. So let's move forward with this and see if it works out fine. And if there's any questions later on, we can revisit it. So.
Hopefully we get more ARPA funds, then we can revisit it.
Well, it would be.
The trees are still growing.
Just saying. If we get them, we'll revisit
They're
this.
still growing.
Basically any transfer back and forth. So, okay, we presented the list as it is, explained a little bit about the ARPA funding. Is there any other questions on the list? Okay, seeing none, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, none. Motion carries.
Okay, and here we go with the next one. We have an electric payment list of bills in the amount of $3,075.90 on a payroll period of, what was that one? Excuse me.
So-
Let's hold on a minute. Let's get an explanation.
So, in August, we had 3 payroll dates.
Yes.
August 31st. So, of course, I have to do the cash transfer from the general fund to the payroll account on the day of payroll, which was the 31st. Also, when we pay the federal withholding, because of the amount we pay, we have to do it right away. We can't wait a couple days to send it. So that occurred on the 31st. Now, the other 3 withholdings that are listed on this one
Yeah.
did not occur until 9/1. You'll remember the board meeting was on 9/1. So if I were to process these and put them on the last list of bills, they would have been in the wrong month, and I would have had trouble balancing my bank. So that's why, just the odd situation that the payroll was the last day of the month, and then the board meeting was the first day of the month, that's why it turned out.
And that comes up every 3 or 4 years, one time.
Yeah, well, now that you said that, it'll probably happen.
Yeah, that's the first again.
But that's the reason that it's the same payroll, half was presented last month, or last board meeting, half was presented this.
Got it. All right, let's back up and start again. Electronic payment list of bills in the amount of $3,075.90 on a payroll dated August 31st for a pay period of August 14th through August 27th of 2022. And Judy just gave the explanation of why that happened, so I will make a motion to approve that.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries.
Okay, now here comes the real payroll. We have an electronic payment list of bills in the amount of $84,731.25 for payroll period of August 28th through September 10th of 2022. Any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. That motion carries.
And we have one more yet. We have check payments for the Light Fund bank account list of bills in the amount of $13,146.69 on check dated September 15th of 2022. Any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries.
And that concludes the long and complicated treasurer's report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, these are items mainly for the public's knowledge, as well as there's one thing for the board that we need to discuss. So in your packet, I received an email from Mike Hessian. This is the Warwick to Ephrata Regional Trail Extension Feasibility Study. The Department of Conservation and Natural Resources did grant an award on a grant for $32,500, 50% of the projected cost of the study of connecting the trails. That's for a feasibility study. The funding is going to be used to contract a consultant to work on a steering committee consisting of representatives from the 4 municipalities. So that would be Denver, Adamstown, East and West Cocalico Townships. And the Cocalico School District And it's really designed, really intended to prepare a plan in accordance with the PA DCNR trail study guidelines to study the feasibility of connecting the trail itself and developing a roadmap into how, if the feasibility is there, how to actually go ahead and make the trail realistic or a reality. Denver Borough Council discussed it at their meeting, and what they're asking us to do is just confirm East Cocalico's commitment to participating in the study and committing to our share in the required $32,500, and that would match per municipality. Our portion would be $8,125.
So that's an equal match.
That's an equal match, yes. So regarding the timing, DCNR advised, they advised the borough that the grant agreement will be sent within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And what we're hopefully trying to do, that Denver's coordinating, is to schedule an initial meeting of the stakeholders to discuss the actual project by November of 2022. Okay? So in essence, what they're looking for now is, we discussed this, we absolutely agree this would be a good idea to look forward, and they just want confirmation from us and a commitment that we are still interested in doing it and committing to the $8,125.
That's where I was going to go, I guess. Everybody already previously acknowledged they're moving forward with it positively. And, you know, unless there would be a change of heart by somebody, that would change the ratio of the money expected.
Correct.
Possibly.
Possibly, correct. So, and this was all agreed to in the past.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, again, just our commitment to the project, to the.
As long as everybody's still buying it.
Right. And I think we still should.
Oh, yeah, no, we committed to it already. I have no.
And
no
I
thoughts.
would just ask that you include in your motion where in the budget you would like the money spent from. Will this be a recreation fund expense, or will this come from the general fund?
Will it even be this year?
Okay.
Yeah, will it even be this year?
No.
So now
If
we
it's for
don't,
next year, we can discuss it, in the budget meetings.
now we don't need a motion on this one because we had already agreed to it. They're just
Okay.
asking for confirmation.
Okay,
Yeah, we're still on board with
And,
and I'll put this in my file for the budget meetings.
For the budget for next
To make
year,
sure we discuss
yes.
it, okay.
so they need some way to participate.
Well, we're not to that point yet.
Step by step.
I just want to get an email back to Mike, Carolyn, Hildebrand, Sam, and Lisa to let them know.
Just keeping everything on the radar.
Okay?
Got it.
So the other item I have here, again, just for the public's knowledge and updating of what's going on in the background, as we search for a manager. We did receive, municipality did receive a request from the State Ethics Committee. The staff pulled together. The request was for, they're doing a compliance audit on the statement of financial interest forms for all officials that have to fill those out from the time period of 2019 to 2021. That occurred this past week, and we did get that information over to the state that they requested. And then one other item I have here is, actually I have one more after this one, is, let me pull it out. So I believe, gentlemen, you're on copy of this one also, so they're still having some trouble with the wireless networking. This is just an FYI. They're having some trouble with the wireless networking at the community pool. They're currently looking at how to improve that, and right now they're looking at how to improve it with Jeremy over custom computers, the cost of improving it over the next 3 to 5 years, and what kind of fiber speeds and everything that they're going to need there. So again, No decisions to be made, just an FYI for the public of what's going on in the background. The other item I'd like to announce to the public also is we are continuing again in our search for a township manager. That is continuing, and as I said last time, out of respect for the candidates that are involved in the interviewing process, I really would like to refrain from stating names or anything like that at this point in time. But we are proceeding, continuing down the path for the recruiting of the township manager.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I need to get over to Heather's for a punches inspection. It's late, so I think I probably addressed all my agenda
Yep.
items, and if we could reschedule that in executive session.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can do that. Okay.
No,
Yep.
sorry.
No, go
I
ahead.
didn't know this was going to run that long. It's early afternoon. Yeah. Could you please
Chair, I have something under new business.
Okay.
thank you.
No, this is,
Okay, so those are just some of the announcements I had under new business type items. And Chief, you just said you had.
Yeah, I am the administrator for the Verizon accounts for not only the police department, but for the township and the fire departments. So the jetpacks that the fire departments have to use for their engine computers, if you will. And the phone for the Reamstown ambulance that they use to call the hospital when they have a patient. I was scheduled to meet with that representative last week, and then a discussion came up within the township part of it in reference to, there is one phone that was returned to the prior township manager from Reamstown ambulance that wasn't being used, so that one is sitting idle. The one in Reamstown ambulance is a 3G device, which is going to be turned off at the end of the year. We're going to figure out how to get them another phone and what they would need, and the upgrades that are available for various phones within the police department. Every certain amount of time, phones can be upgraded. It's usually at no cost, and then we keep the old phones. In the past, we have wiped the phones and sold them. I've held off on that recently to get a little clarification on that. But there's several phones in the police department, the 3G device for Reamstown, and the other phone that was given back from Reamstown. But there was discussion in reference to township employees having cell phones, in reference to right-to-know issues that could come up when an employee would use their own phone to do various things. There could be some right-to-know questions, or that person may have to give up their phone for a while. My opinion, this is my opinion, strictly, I don't ask certain, we have phones for sergeants, detective, myself, and within the department because of the frequent use of those phones within normal everyday business. And I think having a phone for Lisa, Shirley, and Judy, all the work Judy does in reference to texting or emailing or whatever daily business, and all the things, for example, the Amazon account, if we want to be invoiced, it needs a separate phone number that's not used on another Amazon account. So it's just more and more things are coming up in reference to employees having phones that do daily business. So I don't know that it would need a motion, because I believe there, after looking at it this morning, there would be money within the communications budget of the township. There's still money left over within the budget, so it would be budgeted items. And the communications budget won't change for the police department for the upgrade. And it also shouldn't for the township for the Reamstown ambulance upgrade in reference to the 3G phone. But I guess I'm asking, would it be a thing to do, since I'm meeting with the Verizon rep, to get those 3 phones, including Another fact that Shirley and Lisa are expected to update the township website and to do work with the township Facebook account, now that we have it. We can do that from their work phone if necessary, especially during off hours.
Is there one of yours currently not being used down there?
No, ours will be, well, no, I'm sorry, there is one, but I'm expecting that to be used hopefully in the future.
You're right on it, it really doesn't have any.
Not currently.
It's on the plan being paid for.
So that, I mean, I can suspend that one, but it'll probably be hopefully brought back at some point in the
Okay,
future.
well, that's just
Right.
one thing. That's-
For suspensions, they only allow a suspension for 6 months. And then we're required to start paying on it or close the line. Just to make you aware, we were paying for a line for the zoning assistant. We've already passed our 6 months and the charges started.
Oh, so that one isn't the one from Williamstown Fire Company, that was,
I don't
I
know.
have to do more research.
We can look at the bill,
I had to talk to,
so we can see the lines.
I should talk to the person in charge of the Williamstown ambulance about the 3G phone, and he thought that one was given back, so I have to research that.
We talked about that Verizon bill, I think, earlier in the year, that there needed to be some identification updates on the phones that were on the plan.
Yeah, we did that
Former employees were
Did that.
still assigned some phones.
last year, and I think we ended up saving, because a bunch of the stuff from the fire companies, I forget how much we ended up saving.
Yeah, I think the
It's
bill was running about $1,231, and now it's about
I think you
$870.
save about $400 a month by doing that, and that's a normal thing where I'll sit down with our rep from Verizon and go through each thing.
So all the current ones are brought up to date. There was some, I think there were phones identified to retired officers now.
They should be all.
Yeah, the last one, I did check and make sure that it came off
Okay.
Yeah,
at the
they're all-
retirement, and we received the credit on the date that,
And the former employees are
yes,
off as well.
yes.
Okay, all right. That's one thing I saw earlier, we had talked about that earlier in the year, but I hadn't looked through that here in the last few months, so. Was having the laptops bought, originally a way of communicating back and forth that could be taken home without use of the phone, or what was, that wasn't?
It doesn't have a cell phone number,
There's no,
Okay.
so we can't text or anything like that.
we never tied telecom services to it. It was strictly for email, access to drives.
So we lack that communication with the, I see.
And we don't want to use, we can do it, you don't want to do it because that cost is
Higher
going to
yet,
be even more.
higher yet.
So I am able to get the township's email on my personal phone. I didn't realize it was going to happen, but when I had that connection made, since my email address is the same as Elizabeth's was, all the contacts downloaded in my phone. I can show you my contact list. It went from probably a couple hundred people to like 1,200 people. And I have people that I probably should not have on my personal phone. I can show you the list if you want to see it. It's quite ridiculous.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
So if we do this, then I still need to go through the process of deleting all of them in my personal phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sharon, well, great example now, she just went off-site to go for an inspection. If we need to reach her, we're calling her on.
She has one.
She
but
has one.
It's the same concept for the other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially on the 2022.
So it's it's in the budget, and it's, I guess within what we call my spending, it's not the police department.
Just getting it up.
Which part? Your
Your
administrator,
budget- your
Verizon,
budget.
sure.
Your budget in here.
No.
Oh,
So,
with how we're currently running with the department heads, it's probably necessary.
good.
Are you okay
So-
in there?
Chief, then,
Yeah,
that's just an FYI
Yeah,
for us.
that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Chief, I am reading that, under new business email about accepting the applications for the transportation improvement funding through PennDOT you sent.
Yeah,
I'm looking into that.
okay. Yeah, that came through the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association, so I figured you guys would want to see that.
Multi-model transportation.
Okay. All right, old business, tax collector bond.
That was so.
That was
last
done,
time.
yeah.
I
Not
need
be
to
there.
look.
The LERTA item we already discussed. The Chevy Impala,
It's at $500. If anybody wants it, go to Gov Deals. 10 more days. Somebody put a $500 bid on it. That was the opening bid. That's what it's at. I looked this morning.
okay. And then the rec board is seeking other municipalities on the feedback on the 5-year development plan. That one was tabled. Because you were gonna go check with some other people.
I had been in contact with Randall Weaver from Adamstown, and unfortunately, he was not able to make it to our last meeting, and he's gonna let me know which meeting he will come to. But we're gonna be working with them to find out how they went about doing it and such not.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, public comment for non-agenda items. Again, please just state your name clearly. It helps follow with the meeting minutes. Yes, sir.
This is Perry House. Did we get a new update on the quote for the roundabout?
No, we have not yet.
Okay, that's fine. And I have one more question. On a state road, who maintains a state road? And what's considered a state road?
State road is a road that PennDOT carries on their list of rights of way. And who maintains it is a little complicated these days. Generally speaking, the Commonwealth maintains it. However, if there is newer stormwater facilities in the state right of way, it's the responsibility of the municipality, but we require the developer of those facilities to assume responsibility on an indemnification agreement, and the signals and traffic control devices in the state right of way are the responsibility of the municipality to maintain and operate. So,
And there are some that are contracted.
and there are some that are
Like
contracted.
smokes down
Yeah,
the road. Right.
yeah. Yeah, that's correct. We have some contracts that vary that on a place-to-place. So it's not an easy answer. It depends on what needs to be maintained.
Okay, there was a lot brought up before in this meeting, and nobody contacted.
Yeah, so in that conversation, we were talking about the road surface, and that's PennDOT's responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Stephanie Santoro, I have a not so short, not so sweet list here, so bear with me. First and foremost, after attending the rec board meeting the other evening, it is a even larger concern now that the agreed upon temporary approval of the soccer fields is not being followed in any way, shape, or form, including but not limited to the days of use, time of use, and rules set in place, including structures in the parking lot. I don't think that they should be able to keep asking for things, not following them, and then vending and using whatever they want as they please. As a resident there and as well as a concerned person, they have overstepped everything that they asked for and promised they would follow, and I would like the supervisors to revisit exactly what was asked for, what versus what they are currently doing and overstepping.
Okay. And I know that Lorenzo received a correspondence from the CYSC president this morning, okay? And I just got a copy of it this morning. I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
Okay. The best thing that I can say at this point in time is I need to look at this personally, look at this, and I understand what you're saying. And I got to go back into our notes and take a look at exactly what was agreed upon, so I have exactly what that is.
Okay.
Okay, and compare the two. That's personally what I'd like to do.
So can they not be at least held to what they originally asked for and agreed upon until those changes are presented and made?
Well, they're not changes. It's just I need to compare.
But what they're currently doing versus what was agreed upon are hugely different.
Okay.
And the residents of the entire community were completely misinformed as well with all of this then.
Then what we will do is we will immediately go, we'll have someone go out there, take a look at it, see what's going on. And then we'll do that comparison. That's the best thing we can do right now at this time.
Okay. Also with that,
We
there,
write that down as an action item.
there was a quote-unquote tie of surveys that came back, but miraculously enough, my survey specifically is missing. So they initially said about, do they make the tiebreaker, or do they keep waiting on more surveys? Well, there wouldn't have been a tie if my survey wasn't missing from that file. So why do they keep getting more time and more time to break what was set in place, rather than
Who's they?
the club, the coaches, everyone involved in the entire situation, back down to potentially people in the rec board, whether it be one or multiple people giving information or false information back to them?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't understand what their process is or how they're doing that or why that document wouldn't be there. I don't know.
Unfortunately, the board president of CYSC was not able to attend because she was at work. She emailed me at around 5:30 this morning. She sent me this email and I asked if I was able to read it for her, for the public. Are you guys okay if I go ahead and read that, or?
I'm fine.
She gave me written permission to, I can read it. Is that all right? Just so everyone sees where the club's coming from. Lorenzo, I am currently the CYSC president and have been since June 2021, and have been involved in the club as a coach in various board member positions over the last 7 years. Last spring, one of the CYSC coaches approached me about the possibility of utilizing Old Homestead Park for soccer. He lives in the neighborhood and has been a coach in the program for about 7 to 8 years now. He had learned of this option from someone familiar with the township's recreation committee and initiatives. In order to learn more about this option, I attended the May 2022 Township Recreation Committee meeting. I was taken back by a resident that also attended this meeting. I learned that her goal was to block any use of the Old Homestead Park for the CYSC soccer program. I was unclear as to her true intentions. However, she appeared to have some sort of personal vendetta. She proceeded to make outrageous claims as to the last time the club used the park, blocking driveways, damaged cars, increased traffic, cops' involvement. I was not able to substantiate those claims. Though I was not in the same position that I am in now, I attended CYSC meetings and those topics were never brought up. So either they were not true, or they were addressed in some capacity, or simply embellished for this audience. Regardless, we did not have to shut the season down. I had planned to attend the June township meeting, but when I arrived, it had been canceled. I was unable to attend the July meeting. Our U6 coordinator attended the August meeting. Regardless, I was focused on moving forward CYFC's main goal is have a safe place for young kids to play soccer. PKF means put kids first, is our motto. I agreed that we reduce traffic by having all parking in Weavers and communicate this with the parents, the coaches, so all could help enforce. Our current U6 coordinator lives in the neighborhood as well, so I felt comfortable with eyes, ears close to the situation. We expected to get 3 fields to fit into the open area. At the time of planning, we are never sure of how many total kids and coaches we will get, so it is hard to plan ahead of how many teams will set up. Once the registration closed, we had 66 kids signed up for the program, which is great. We were granted temporary use of the park for this season under the following assumptions. Be sure Weavers is used for parking. A Google map was created and distributed to all parents and coaches and provided to the rec committee, showing the parking and the pathway to walk to the park. Of course, you have a parent or two or grandparent that misses the note and has to be corrected. Our U6 coordinator confirmed that only 2 cars were parked in the parking lot and were asked to move their cars to the Weavers parking lot. Porta potties were not discussed prior, but when we realized there wasn't any place for the kids and coaches to use as a restroom, we emailed the board for permission to have a porta potty at the club's expense. We didn't have time and never heard back. We decided to have it delivered, paid an emergency fee to have it delivered by the Friday before the start of the season, and explained to the board that we could remove it if it is not approved, but that we would really like a place for the kids or coaches to use and choose to keep it unlocked so the community could feel free to use it as well, all at the expense of the club. When the coaches arrived on Saturday, it had been knocked down, and they did pick it up. There wasn't damage or cleaning that was needed, since it had just been delivered the night before. When I originally spoke about the program, we intended to have 1 practice during the week and 1 game day, which was Saturday, for a few hours. Based on the number of kids, we tried to get a certain number of coaches. Of course, volunteers are hard to find. We only recruited 6 coaches, with some assistants, and some of them were also coaching other teams in the club. Therefore, to accommodate, we needed to offer more evenings of practices. Currently, we have practices as the following. 1 team's on Monday, it's about 11 kids. 1 team's on Tuesday, about 11 kids. 3 teams on Wednesday, that's about 33 kids. 1 team on Thursday, about 11 kids. All teams Saturday mornings, 4 games. We notified the rec board of this schedule prior to the season. We were questioned on the 1 night of practice versus 4 night of practice, and we were questioned whether it was all U6. We confirmed that it was and did not provide, nor we were pressed further. I was not contacted by the board to ask for clarification since I was the one that said we practice 1 night a week. I take responsibility for this miscommunication. We certainly could have been more formal in our request. The positive side is that there would be less kids there each of the nights when only 1 team is practicing. But I am aware of the discrepancy of what was accepted versus what is reality. The bottom line is, if we could not let coaches use the fields during those other nights, then we would have had less coaches and ultimately less teams, which can have resulted in turning kids away. Our volunteer situation has grown very hard for the club. At the meeting, it was discussed that I would reach out to other places to look for a place for the kids to play. I thought about that for quite some time. I literally only called 1 fire station, no answer, and was not interested in pursuing it. We had lukewarm luck in the past. I like Old Homestead. I felt confident with our U6 coordinator nearby that we would be close to the action to monitor the situation and help resolve issues if any were to arise. We would also have a safe place to keep equipment as well. I did not ask the rec board to find us an alternative. It is not their job. As a club, our board would have just kept searching for alternatives like we always have done. Old Homestead seemed like such a perfect option for us, especially this season. In general, every complaint that we have received, which we understand has been a few people, we have addressed, investigated, or communicated to been embellished, inaccurate, or unable to substantiate. A lot of extra time wasted by a lot of people because of disgruntled residents. CYSC is a great program, and the kids that have participated feed our school program. It takes a lot of volunteers who put in a lot of time for one thing and one thing only, the kids. We all live in this township too. We support the recreation board and the board of supervisors and everything these groups do to provide us a nice township to live, work, and play. Everyone on the board represents the several hundred parents, players, coaches, and volunteers that are a part of the CYSC. We aren't trying to bring harm to the community, only positive help. In the end, I am asking that the board allows the U6 season to continue through the end of October as planned with the use of the porta potty and keep the current practice game schedule. We commit to continuing to follow the practice guidelines, the parking guidelines, and keeping traffic in the neighborhood to a minimum. We can keep the spring season on the table for discussion and review new guidelines if necessary. Please let me know if I can answer any further questions. Thank you for all you do for this community and CYSC. Annie. So obviously, to me, it sounds like they were anticipating possibly 20 to 25 kids, and they had a huge outreach of 66. We practice at the school. The fields are always packed for the Cocalico Youth Soccer Club. Unfortunately, there's no designated space for the soccer club to just show up and practice. I think that's why kind of they're practicing over at Old Homestead, because there's no other location at this time for them to practice. Shutting down a U6 program gives these little kids nothing really to do. So I don't think that's the proper option, because all the parents as well are taxpayers just like everyone else. But there's a question in the back.
Yeah, Lorraine Cole. In addition to everything that Andrea just said, she's also been corresponding with Philip, who's on the rec board. And I just want it to be known that when we got the schedule, it was posted on a township website, and it's still on there, of every night of the week that they were going to be there, and the Saturdays.
And it was
So
one night a
made
week?
public. No, it was the 4 nights a week. When we originally talked about it, it was 1 night a week. But like you said, she got more kids than they anticipated, which is wonderful. And I also go to the U8 soccer at the school, and there is no room for any other teams to go there.
There have been parking issues at the high school for many years during soccer because of walking across the street, and it has gotten tremendously better now that everybody knows you cannot park on South 4th Street.
Or the grass.
Right, or we would go down there, and there was unfortunately at one point a fatality where somebody ran out between 2 cars down towards High School Road. So parking is always a concern anywhere and that kind of thing, but from past experience with youth soccer organization, they have very much communicated with the parents and other teams to not park on South 4th Street. And I think that issue's been resolved. I think with time, everybody will know to park over at Weavers. I don't know how many people are parking in Old Homestead.
More than they're admitting to.
Okay, so, I mean, what we can do is we can come out and we can try to educate them. I'm not saying we're coming out and writing parking tickets. I mean, we resorted to that down at South 4th Street, but when we would pull up, we'd see 20 parents come running to their cars, and we would educate them to park in the high school. Yes, it's a little longer walk, but park in the high school. Weavers graciously allowed this. We can educate them when we can to, can't park here, you're supposed to park. And again, it gets into a potential issue, because if they're legally parked on that street, we really can't tell them to leave. I think graciously they'll move, knowing that they can park at Weavers and be there, but if a car is legally parked at Old Homestead, and there's no parking, no parking signs, what happens if it's a neighbor that's not at the soccer game, that's visiting the house in Old Homestead? So you have to be very careful on how you do the parking. The last thing I want to do is go out and start issuing lots of parking tickets. We can educate before we would do that.
And there is a parking lot there.
There is a parking lot.
And there's a park there as well. So we have no control if someone is shooting basketball is parked there and you tell them to move their car either.
And if they say, no, we're here on the playground, then that's a different thing.
Yes, parks are made to be played on. The field was put there for kids to use. I think it's a good thing that it is being used. It wasn't built to just sit there and do nothing. We pay a lot of money every year and go to the fields, and isn't it a good thing that's being used?
Sure, they would be following what they were asked to and following what they requested. If they can have every single team there on a Saturday to all play games at once, why can't they stick to their one night a week like all the residents thought it was going to be? There was people in the park with their families the other evening when everyone showed up, because we were all under the impression that it was one night a week and Saturdays. They were asked to leave. How is that okay?
Well, it's one of those things where, communication.
Okay.
Communication.
So communication. So you also have a person sitting in this room and also that email who wants to communicate verbal attacks on someone who they want to say is just making stuff up or just lying, when that said person can also provide proof that it's not one or two people or one or two cars.
Well, they didn't name any names, so we have to be precise on that. They didn't say names.
But they're making it sound like it's only one person that's making a big deal of it. It's not just one person, but one person isn't going to sit back and let everyone else have to deal with it because they're not willing to speak or they don't want to come and speak.
There's a question in the back.
I was just going to comment on, we were told at Tuesday night's meeting that there was 8 vehicles parked there, and Andrea did confirm that there was 8, and they were asked to move, and all 8 of them immediately did move. But at the meeting the other night, somebody parked their car across 4 parking spots, so nobody else could park in the parking lots.
Once again, not true, and if you want proof of
We're
it, I can show
also
you.
being told that the police were called out numerous times since the porta potty was put there to people sleeping in the Homestead Park because of the porta potty there. And my response was that I find it hard to believe that people are sleeping in their car or going to go to a place where there's a porta potty because they're not going to care where they're going to the bathroom.
He's right here asking.
Well, they can call us and we can move them from the park at night. I mean, that's just because the porta potty's there. I mean, we move people on from Fishing Creek Park, we move people on from other parks, Williamstown Park, it's private. The rule is you're not allowed to be in there. We move people from the Denver Park all the time after hours. So that's more of a police issue where all they have to do is call us and we'll come out, and if somebody's sleeping in a car in the parking lot, they will be told to leave. So, I mean, there's two sides. I mean, not two sides, but we're willing to do what we do to try and keep that park as safe as possible.
There was also a comment made that there was 2 children dropped off there before soccer practice even started, and that a gentleman or a man was approaching them, and that the police were called because of this. And they had told Stephanie that whoever came to pick them up to see if she could get a license plate. And when she went to confront she assumed the grandmother, the grandmother tried to run her over.
Okay, yes, sir.
My name is John Stroll, and my wife, Yvonne Stroll. We own the property right side of the park, right side of the parking lot. We have witnessed two different practices, and I've spoken to the neighbors, and our main concern is the noise. We like to sit out on our deck in the evening, and now all we hear is coaches yelling and kids screaming. I realize it's probably uncontrollable, but that's what the neighbors complain about, the noise, more than anything.
But it's a park.
You don't live there, though. I don't think a soccer field belongs in a development. I think there should be other options researched. I think there's some fire companies. Smokestown Fire Company has a beautiful field, parking, and if you're familiar with Gaiman's Mennonite School, they also have beautiful parking there. They also have an established goal there too, and a nice field to play. As far as the porta potty,
It's in a different township.
okay, that's fine. I didn't know that. As far as the porta potty, I knew it was upset. Tipped over, I'm saying. I wasn't away that day. I didn't see who put it back up. But my concern is, was someone authorized to come out and look if there actually was spillage into the ground? Plus, with the porta potty being there, we have $1 million view, me and my wife. We get to look and sit out of the beautiful park, the woods and everything. Now we get to look at a red porta potty. And as far as the police, this week there has been 2 separate incidents after 10 o'clock where people have driven into the park up to the potty for a short period of time and left. I really think that this porta potty is used for a public bathroom. Like it getting back, I've spoken to the immediate neighbors. There's about 6 of us that are really affected by this soccer field proposal, and everyone seems to be on the same page as they do not like the noise.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments?
That was only the first thing on us, so I still have more.
Okay.
Second thing, I'm gonna put this one right on URC. 2 meetings ago, I had brought up about the first responders thing you were doing. You promised it would be on last meeting's agenda. It was not. You last meetings promised it would be on this meeting's agenda. It yet still is not.
That is correct. The reason it's not on the agenda is I spoke with Lisa and I asked her not to put it on there because what we're trying to do is get the township manager in here so we can get that facilitated along with a list of other items that we're working on for the new township manager.
Okay. In conjunction with that, last meeting, Chief Stover had brought up, and I had brought it up the meeting prior, that there was still a substantial amount of ARPA money, and all 3 stations have lost out significantly on their normal fundraising that they do to maintain their 100% volunteer stations, and that Chief Stover had asked about potentially divvying up a certain amount of money between the 3 stations, and you said that that would be further discussed as well.
That'll be ancillary budget time.
Yeah. That's part of the budget discussions when we have the public
Budget
budgets.
for ARPA?
Yes.
Overall township.
Township, the town, when, that was exactly what we were discussing earlier, was the calendar for the township budget process. In that budget process, we go into those level of details of ARPA funding, example, police department funding, what we need for repairs, all those kinds of things. So that's exactly where we plan on discussing that.
Okay.
Yep.
Next part of that, it has been rumored through the stations that one specific station is planning to come to you guys specifically for that funding to be used for things that it's not actually going to be used for. And if it is not going to be used specifically as been requested by Chief Stover and brought up by myself as well, to be divvied out between the 3, we would like you guys to make sure that you remember that there's not just one station in this township, there is 3, and there should not be one getting any type of special treatment with whatever they bring to the table for that said
You said,
speech they're going to give.
you said rumors, we deal with facts.
Okay, well, it's rumor until they bring it to here, but they are bringing it to here.
Okay, it's something I understand.
And last thing on my list is I had personally requested to meet with the three of you, which has been ignored, to sit down and discuss a huge liability within the township and have not gotten any response back for said meeting. I have prepared to present it publicly if you don't wish to hear it privately first. So I'm going to lay that on you guys, that I will give you between now and next meeting, that if it's not attended to, I will bring it up at meeting, and if it's not discussed, I will take it straight to the media.
My comment there is we are working on that in terms of we're trying to get schedules set up.
I heard that last meeting too.
We're checking on our schedules. Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
Something on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay,
John Miller.
we can hear you.
John Miller, hey. Just got a public comment, not really a public discussion, this is public comment time. For the, since I am on Zoom, when I attended a meeting August 18th, I sent in a chat for a question, because I couldn't talk at the moment. And I was asked to come off mute to voice my concern. So last meeting, September 1st, there was quote-unquote gym gentleman that was on Zoom. They had 6 questions, and can ask those questions on Zoom. So you might want to look at your policy and keep it very consistent, that some questions get asked, but some questions don't get asked. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the next supervisors meeting will be held on Thursday, October 6th at 7 p.m. That will be held here in our building, in person and via live Zoom. We will be having an executive session for personnel after this meeting. There will be no decisions made. So I would like a motion to adjourn at this time. I'm sorry. Excuse me. We will not be having an executive session after this meeting. Thank you for the correction.
I make a motion to adjourn.
And I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So already talked to them about that.
I just wanted to make sure, no, we forgot.
What do you think, Ken?
Huh? Sit back here all by yourself?
Yeah, she didn't have her face on yet.
Oh.
That's all right, I already contacted the state, too, they're gonna shut it down.
He liked ride-alongs.
He really did like Bradley.
That one within 1 trip away. I haven't seen him since I retired.
But do you remember